Hey there everybody. I'm going to be doing a hummingbird painting, and so this will be one of those that I probably fast forward a little bit. I know some of you would like to watch it in regular time, but it can actually be really time consuming. So I do try to cut down on the length of the video. I believe it or not, on all of my videos I try to do that. And I know it doesn't seem like it, but so I just wanted to go over one more time. What I'm doing is you can purchase inexpensive frames at the store, at Goodwill, Salvation Army, you know, different places like that. Or you might have tons. I know I used to have, and I still do, they're in storage, tons of old picture frames. And the great part about it is you can take the glass out and do a pour on the glass and then put it back in the frame after you're done. So say here's an example of a piece of glass. Here's the piece of glass, okay? And then I've got like one here that is drying, so it's still shiny, it's still wet, and it's cool to the touch underneath, so that means it is not dry yet. And I thought this would be a nice one to do a koi fish on or something like that. So that's had a pour done over the glass. And then when it's dry, it ends up looking like this, where it's kind of flat looking, a little dull. So there's the back side of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint a hummingbird today on this. And then once it's dried, I seal it with a glossy coat of varnish. And then I put it in the frame after it's dried well. And then this is one I did with a butterfly. And it's got the clear coat on it. And it's back in the frame. And these are going to be companion pieces that go together. This will have the hummingbird and maybe a little blossom of some sort. But a lady hired me to commission me to do these as a set. I had painted this one on my own and she bought it and she wanted a hummingbird to go with it. So I have my iPad here with the reference photo, and I have this, and there's lots of ways. If you're not, if you're an artist, a lot of people can just kind of sketch it out, and sometimes sketching it out is a little hard for me to do. So a lot of times I will go on the back side of something I've printed out and just, you know, fill it in with pencil. This is the old-fashioned way of doing a transfer. And then you position your piece wherever you want it to, and this is probably not going to show up, but I'm just showing you how I would do it, especially if it were on a white background. This is a very dark background, so the pencil probably won't show, but what you do is you tape down your piece so that it doesn't shift on you, and then you firmly press with a ballpoint pen. And this just gives you the basic shape. So I cannot even see this because it's a dark background, so I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to have to sketch it out. So I've got a white colored pencil that's kind of like chalk, and so I will just sketch out. When you have a dark background, then you use something lighter. So I'm just sketching out very basically the shape of this hummingbird. Hummingbirds are tiny little creatures, and I've actually heard that they're extremely mean, but they're beautiful. So a lot of people, including me, are very fascinated by hummingbirds because of their beauty. They're fast, but they're apparently mean as well. And I'm not going to put, I don't want the flower to be a focal point here, but I am going to just kind of do a basic outline, and I'm going to make this more of a reddish pink color, I think, than yellow, because that's typically, you know, hummingbirds are attracted to reds. I did put a little bit of a lavender color in the background. I wanted the backgrounds to be similar on both of these swipes. So this has a little bit more blues and greens, and I put a little bit of lavender and purple into this one. So this is just the basic shape. And then what I always do is I go in with white. And I don't even think I clean this canvas off. Which, you know, typically I would with silicone involved, but I do not even think I did. But nothing funky is happening. There's no bubbles or anything funky like that. And I can adjust my hummingbird a little bit if I need to. And these are two paints that I'm using. They're thicker, so they do take a little bit longer to dry. But then they also give a little bit of dimension. They kind of stand up off the painting a little bit, so there's a little texture to it, and I like that effect usually. If I'm painting, say, on watercolor paper or something that's really smooth and fine and porous, a lot of times I'll use more like craft bottle paints like Deco Art, because they dry kind of matte and they dry flat, they soak into the paper and that kind of thing. So it just depends on what look you're going for. This is little feet right there. And this just is a basic base coat so that I can put my colors on top of this and make those colors pop again. Because if you put your colors over a dark base, they're going to be kind of dull looking. So that's the whole point of doing it with the white base coat first. And you know, if you're not an artist and you don't really know how to paint, you can, you know, find a stencil, or you can even do the silhouette. You can trace out the outline of something from Google or wherever, and you can paint in the silhouette in black, or, you know, something like that. So and that's another thing that, you know, I'm moving into a gallery in the next month. I'm slowly moving my artwork and stuff over, and going to set up classroom space to teach classes and all that in Sanford, North Carolina. And all of that information will be posted on my website, which is www.sandralett.com, with class schedules and location and all that. But I also, besides teaching fluid painting, I also want to teach regular acrylic painting. For those of the people out there that want to actually learn how to do some realistic kind of painting, or, you know, it doesn't even have to be realistic looking. It can be just fun and playful, but just learning about colors and how to do shading and that kind of thing. It's such a blast. So I'm gonna take this wood frame away so that I don't get paint on it. But I wanted you to see those and what the plan was. So I have my photo reference here, and then I have it large scale on my iPad. And that just helps me see the details. So already I'm just going to go ahead and stick in a leaf or two. And they're not going to show up much because there's already some green on the on here, but and the good thing to have too when you're doing something like this is a blow dryer in between your layers of color. You can blow dry it and it'll go a lot faster than if you waited for your paint to dry. I don't have time to sit around and wait for my paint to dry, so I always use a blow dryer. This one happens to be a very powerful blow dryer as well. The other thing too is if your paint is not dry with acrylics, when you put the next layer of color on, it will lift it off. So you have to make sure it's kind of dry. And with this being two paints, this kind of keeps a little bit of sheen because they're better quality paints. So sometimes there's some sheen and it may look like wet paint, but it's just the sheen of the tube paint. And so now I'm just going to go in and very softly, you can't really draw on just painted acrylic paint very well, but I'm just putting roughly where the eye would be, and then they have some little fancy feathers that kind of come around right here, so I'm just trying to draw in some separation of colors. Sometimes even a pencil, if you push too hard, it will take the paint off. So I'm just kind of very lightly. I can also use a fine point Sharpie, which that will show up on top of your paint. So that's just something to keep in mind too. But the thing about the Sharpie is it may stay. It may show up in the paint because it is the Sharpie and it's permanent. Okay, so that's the basic shape of it. Now I can get down to business and start painting in my colors. I also need black. This is Arteza. I like their little tube paints, they're fabulous. So I'm going to turn my mic off and start painting and listen to some music. Liquitex High Gloss Varnish. This is my varnish of choice, and I kind of put on too thick of a coat, so there's lots of brush strokes, but I kind of want that on this painting. I want it to look brush strokey because it is a hand painted item. So it's sealed. It's already partially dry because I put the blow dryer on it, and it's a little bit tacky, so I'll let it dry for a day or two and then put it inside the frame. And then, so I'm not going to put it on the underside because I don't want it sticking, but as you can see, once it goes on inside the frame, there'll be that one and this one, and there'll be a set. So I hope she loves them. I think she will. I'll be sending her a picture here shortly. So that's just how I embellish a pour, and you can use any size frame and do any kind of pour, but they're especially fun to do swipes for backgrounds. So I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Instagram, and come join me on my Facebook group. All the links are below in the show more down below your video, or the down arrow on your mobile device. You can click on the links. There's a PayPal and a Patreon link and all that good stuff. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.